The Jesuits were spiritual revolutionaries who were being smuggled into England in disguise. Among them was Edmund Campion, one of the outstanding churchmen of his age. Campion had left the Church of England to become a Catholic, and he had the zeal of a convert. Campion landed in England in 1580, posing as a travelling merchant. His mission was spiritual, to minister to Catholics. He had no plans to stir up rebellion, but he knew that the Protestant authorities would treat him as a traitor.
I cannot long escape the hands of the heretics. The enemy have so many eyes, so many tongues, so many scouts and crafts. I often change my name. Threatening edicts come forth against us daily. I read letters sometimes that tell news that Campion is taken.
Campion had a very attractive personality, clearly. Man of integrity, man of ambition, man of great intelligence. The Protestant authorities viewed him as a dangerous individual because he was so gifted, because he was so attractive, because he had such a great name already in the country from his early days at Oxford and as a member of the Anglican Church. He represented a new kind of religion, not just establishment religion of either sort, if you like, enthusiastic religion, and that's always dangerous. Particularly if you're trying your best, as Elizabeth was, very understandably from her point of view, to form an established church which didn't satisfy anybody particularly, but kept everybody more or less contained and more or less quiet. One thing Campion was not was quiet.
The Catholic Mass was illegal in England. That didn't stop Campion moving from house to house, saying Mass and hearing confessions. He published pamphlets which challenged the very basis of Elizabeth's church. Elizabeth had met Campion at Oxford 15 years earlier, before he had converted to Catholicism. She had been greatly impressed by him, but she couldn't ignore the gauntlet that he was now throwing down. Like it or not, she had to treat him as the enemy.
Elizabeth and Campion actually had a lot in common. Both believed that it should be possible to distinguish between religion and politics. At the beginning of her reign, Elizabeth had claimed passionately that she wouldn't make windows into men's souls, whilst Campion, for his part, insisted that he had no political motives and was the Queen's loyal subject. But in the circumstances of the European Cold War between Protestant and Catholic, the distinction between religion and politics was almost impossible to maintain. After all, Campion was the loyal servant of the Pope, and the Pope claimed the authority to depose Elizabeth. He had already in the 1560s authorised her subjects to rebel against her, and he could and would do so again.
Campion's solitary journey now brought him to Lyford Grange near Oxford. Here, a priest-catcher discovered him and alerted the authorities. The house was ransacked, and after a search of 2 days, a chink of light betrayed Campion's hiding place.
Campion was taken to London, where he had a secret meeting with Leicester and Elizabeth herself. The Queen offered him pardon and preferment if he would recant. Campion refused, and in turn reminded Elizabeth of her glorious Catholic ancestors, whom she had betrayed.
Campion was returned to the Tower, and 5 days later was put to the rack to extract a confession of treason. At his trial, he was found guilty and sentenced to be hanged, drawn, and quartered. On the scaffold, Campion prayed to God to grant the Queen a long, quiet reign with all prosperity.
The effect of Campion's death on the Catholic world was tremendous strengthening. As always, you know, when you make martyrs, you usually increase the cause you're trying to oppose, and that certainly was the case with Campion. And word got round of his heroic death by any standards. So tremendous encouragement for the Catholic world. The very thing that Elizabeth was trying to cool down, enthusiastic commitment and religion of any sort, was the very thing that he strengthened.